the banana, or bananas. Um, yes, there are several bananas, and each one is going to be a little bit different. But what we're going to start out with is a light watery mix of a lemony yellow. The Daniel Smith, the Hansa one I'm using is Hansa Yellow. It's called Hansa Yellow Light. And the Graham uses the same pigment, but they just call it Hansa Yellow. It can be very confusing if you think about the names of colors as opposed to learning. The best thing to do if you're going to try to compare apples to apples is learning the pigments behind that makes up the paint. And this particular lemony yellow, I think it's called PY3. I'm not sure, but I do know it's the same one. Why did I just do that? Wipe up that color. I wanted to make sure that my brush didn't have any other color in it. And it wasn't looking quite the color I thought it would. It could be that it's because my palette is not completely white. But either way, we're going to do a light watery mix of a lemony yellow as sort of our foundational layer for the bananas. They're going to end up having, like I mentioned, very different things going on. But we're starting off with this. Hopefully that's showing up okay. I hope people are starting to get an idea of just how watery you can have it, and how watery sometimes it helps. So you go all the way across like that, and that color in water is going to keep going down. I'm overlapping that pooling color, kind of coming in, cleaning up the sides, trying to be aware of just how the whole shape I'm working in. Should have consistent moisture distribution. There you go. That's the foundational layer for the banana. The table is going to have is going to start out with a light quinacridone burnt orange, and you can tell I've done a decent amount of phthalo blue over here. So it's going to be once again light and watery. Make sure I have plenty. As a right-hander, as I always love to try to break down, really kind of examine what it is I do. so it makes it easier to teach. But it does seem, I usually sort of do brush down a little bit on the left side, and then across some, and then a little bit more there. Then I usually try to come in and kind of clean up that right side. Mostly I kind of want to establish this this area where it's fairly even, and having that pooling line of paint, watery paint. I may have done it again. What I tell you guys not to do is make sure you have plenty of paint mixed up. So I'm coming across again. I didn't quite have enough paint mixed up, so I'm mixing a little bit on the fly, mid shape, which is tricky territory. And so what I am doing, because what I've mixed now is a little bit different concentration of what I had before, what I started with. So I'm gonna, it's a little bit lighter, you can probably tell. So I'm going to just decide, okay, we're gonna make it that lighter color, that lighter version. And now I know I am gonna have enough watery color to finish this whole shape. I do feel like the question about the edges is coming, is one I hear on a semi-regular basis, as far as this sort of darkening edge effect and why does that happen. And I think partly I haven't, it has to do with a couple different things, but mostly introducing water and pushing color out to the edge. If you let it dry with something really watery, then it will tend to do it as well. But mostly what I have decided is that that's one of the things that the effects of watercolor I love, is that darkening at the edges sort of look. And there's things you can do after if it's too egregious and you want to sort of lighten it up. You can sort of scrub away things, and it seems like it usually disappears mostly as you keep painting. That's not plugged in, is it? So I wouldn't, you can certainly try to keep things not too wet. That might help a little bit. Just want to make sure these guys are dry. So because watercolors dry, when they dry, they're much lighter in color. You can see that this started out, seemingly darker than it is right now after it dried. I could just I could do another layer of the lemony yellow, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward with a little bit stronger of the lemony yellow over, and leave the top left rectangle as is. So a little bit stronger. I know that's relative. If there's a little goober in there and it's still wet, it's not going to introduce water and create a background, I will often try to lift it up. If it doesn't come up fairly easily, I will just wait till it dries. So yeah, that's the bananas, and the table is going to be mostly just a little bit stronger of the quinacridone burnt orange. So not quite watery enough. I was sort of pushing the watery color more than coaxing. I love this color. There was some rogue other color there in my in the corner of my palette that I was trying to get mixed in. I'm not going to let it though. It's interesting to try to describe just the touch. You know, it is a bit of a combination of trying to not touch the paper too much, but just a little bit, mostly coaxing the colored water down the page and down the paper. And yeah. Hopefully you guys have fast forward. Let me see, next we're going to, a little bit stronger of the lemony yellow, and we're going to start moving to a little bit of green. So we're going to introduce a little bit of that lemony yellow plus a tiny bit of the peacock blue, or a phthalo blue. And if you remember, the phthalo blues are very strong, and when you're mixing to get a green, it'll behoove you to mix up your yellow first. And because the phthalo blue is so strong, bringing that a little bit in over here, you can tell it's sort of already mixing itself. I try to grab from when I'm introducing a different color to the well of whatever color it is. I usually try to go to grab it from the side, or yeah, just so it's not always in the way. Anyways, there's my, doesn't look like I introduced blue very much, does it? But I'm going to try to mix it in a little bit. Yeah, doesn't take much. So that's even, I'm going to go with it. That's a little bit greener than I was wanting, but yeah, let me bring it on a little bit more yellow. He keeps moving over here, doesn't he? Hey, you guys, stay over there. It helps to talk to your colors. Mostly, we're making this transition from a light yellow, light valued yellow, to a little bit darker valued lemony yellow, to a little bit darker yellow green, The blue is technically adding a cooler color, so we're going from a warm, light valued lemony yellow, transitioning down the value scale, darker and darker, changing hue, going to yellow green. And we'll, on the subsequent layers, we'll keep building on that, keep going darker and a little bit greener. For this guy, let's see. I want to do a mostly just a really strong. This stuff is not exact, you guys. Maybe that is not very helpful at the beginning, but mostly the point is to just get more and more comfortable with layering darker layers of paint over previous lighter layers. This is a good example of a shape that I didn't quite let dry all the way. You're going to see it's wanting to sort of poke out a little bit along the edge, so it's not going to hold a really crisp, clean edge. And sometimes you want that. In fact, lots of times you want that. But I find it mostly helpful to figure out how to not get that, and then learn how to control it. How fuzzy and soft an edge might get. So let me call that good for now. I'm going to upload this and dry off the paper and then keep going.